Well, hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to a new edition of our EKN OutLap. It is episode 42. The date, July the 26th, 2022. My name is Rob Howden, and we are diving in for our OutLap preview of this coming weekend Superkarts USA Pro Tour Summer Nationals, the finale of Superkarts USA's National Championship program, and we will dive in, look at all the categories. We'll, of course, hit you up with the current point standings and maybe some updates depending on whether or not we have any new drivers coming in or drivers who are not yet, of course, on the pre-entry list. David Cole, of course, will be joining me, but let's get started by talking about our presenting sponsor for this edition of the OutLap. It is Leading Edge Motorsports. Leading Edge Motorsports is the industry answer to winning in karting. At the helm is industry veteran Greg Bell, who has orchestrated the success of countless drivers dating back to the mid-1990s. Leading Edge Motorsports is the West Coast importer and factory team for IP Karting, which manufactures the ultra-competitive Praga and Formula K chassis brands. In 2022, Leading Edge will be trackside at the SKUSA Pro Tour, Florida Winter Tour, United States Pro Kart Series, Stars Championship, California Pro Kart Challenge, and high-profile Rock Cup events. Contact us today to book your spot under the tent. Visit leadingedgemotorsports.com for more info or find them on Facebook and Instagram. At Leading Edge Motorsports, winning never gets old. Well, David Cole, let's jump into this edition of the OutLap, episode 42. As I had said, it is Tuesday, as we look forward to getting on the road on Thursday, the 2022 finale for the Superkarts USA Pro Tour, the annual Summer Nationals. Normally, this event taking place somewhere usually in the middle of August, end of July, an early end to the Pro Tour here in 2022.
Yeah, a little earlier than normal, than what we've had in the past. Most recently, looking back at some Facebook memories and some other images and stuff like that, we have raced in Newcastle in July. Could not, possibly, other events, but I want to say the Summer Nationals was in July at one time. I think it was maybe back when we still had Vegas as the series finale. I'm not quite sure. I don't have the dates all in front of me, but yeah, it's it typically has been over the recent last few years in August, and now it's shifting back into the last weekend of July, so a little bit earlier. It's going to be a busy weekend in Indianapolis with IndyCar, NASCAR, Xfinity, all at IMS, and us down the road at Newcastle Motorsports Park. So a busy time for the racing capital of the world.
Yeah, indeed. There's going to be a lot of racers in that area here this coming weekend. Again, rounds number 5 and 6 of a 6-round championship, best of 5 counts. So David will have the Excel spreadsheet out throughout the weekend as we will do what we can through the weekend. And of course, on Sunday to provide our unofficial thoughts in terms of the winner of the championship. SKUSA normally going over their books in the week past the event to get it all dialed in. July 28 to 31 is the official date for the event this year. David mentioned that in early years of the SKUSA Pro Tour, the Super Nationals actually were the finale. You get your points from the Super Nats to cap off the Pro Tour. The Summer Nats kind of has been, over the last number of years, has been the finale. And David, Newcastle Motorsports Park, where we're going this weekend, really has become kind of the unofficial home for the Summer Nationals and then the Pro Tour finale.
Yeah, it has. It certainly has been since 2015. Newcastle Motorsports Park has hosted the Summer Nationals. 2017 is when we started, they introduced the Winter Nationals, and that's when the Super Nationals became a standalone event, and the Summer Nationals became the series finale. So that's kind of the history of that. And again, going back to 2015, we've been at Newcastle a long time now for what is the Summer Nationals. We've had a lot of different racetracks as well too, different layouts at the Newcastle Motorsports Park facility. So that's kind of been also a key element is the opportunity and the opportunity to provide different track layouts each year that we go back.
And they've done that too, right, David?
That's what I said.
The motivation, right? They haven't gone to one particular layout. They've been trying different things over the last number of years.
Yeah, obviously we've done the national layout, the typical layout. We've done the super mile racetrack that they've done. We've done reverse now. So a lot of different layouts, a lot of different, directions. This year, going back with the national reverse layout as we did last year, certainly a unique layout, and I think it's a little bit more intriguing, more fun, than the normal national layout that we do.
Definitely a great opportunity to have more passing overtake areas on the racetrack, so that'll be fun to watch. And I like the national reverse layout that we're going to run. 13th season for this Superkarts USA Pro Tour Championship, which is an amazing in and of itself. We've had so many. We say this a lot, even though there's strife throughout the industry and discontent occasionally. We're into our 13th season. We've got 3 or 4 programs that have been around for over a decade, which is really great for consistency and the stability of the sport. Again, the Pro Tour starting back in 2010 at Sonoma with the first running of the Spring Nationals. This weekend, of course, going to Newcastle. And David, looking at the weather app on my phone right now, looks like it's going to rain for the next 2 days down there. But when we get there, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm seeing highs in the high 70s and potentially low 80s on Sunday, and sun and clouds. So it could be a pretty solid weekend. Although, as we know, it's Newcastle, so rain could always be around the corner.
Yeah, when you look at the temperature, it looks comfortable. Hopefully the humidity will not be as high as what we've seen in the past. Maybe we're going to get a little bit of a break there when we go to Newcastle. Typically in the summer, it's a bit humid, sitting out there in the farm fields. But weather-wise, you always have to factor in rain. It's just something about Indiana.
Yeah, it can happen.
You just kind of have to keep an eye on it. So. It's saying, rain through Thursday, and then rain's going to come back come Monday. So, I find it hard to believe that Friday, Saturday, Sunday are going to be completely dry. But, as it is forecasted right now, it's going to be dry. So cross your fingers, do all your rain dancing, whatever you need to do to keep that rain away.
Yeah, are we actually going to get a perfect window Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? I know that Doug Bowles is probably wanting that to happen at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for sure, and we'll have the same thing with the Dismore.
What are you
family.
talking about? The road racing. Throw on the reins and get out there, right?
Oh no, 100%. I'm looking forward. If it rained, it'd be cool over at the Speedway for sure, right? There's no doubt about that. And that track's fun in the rain for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't want the rain just as much as we don't.
Yeah, and again, if only because packing up in the rain at the end of a weekend sucks. Let's put it that way.
It does, especially if it starts raining after the weekend. When you're packing and it starts raining, then like we had at Road America, it was that way. Rain held off until all the last few teams were packing up and putting the tents down.
So, again, as we had said before, we are running the national reverse layout at Newcastle Motorsports Park. The track right about a mile in length, 16 turns in total, running in that clockwise direction. So it should be the last corner complex. I really like coming kind of around the tech barn and through the grid is a really cool combination of corners where you can catch someone out. If they're blocking on the inside, you can do the over/under. Always some excitement there. David, let's wrap up this initial segment here of this OutLap podcast with a run through the event schedule. Let people know, the way SCUSA is going to approach this weekend.
Well, Thursday is a practice day run by Newcastle Motorsports Park, so we don't have an official schedule for that yet. I'm going to assume it'll be very similar to what we'll see on Friday, but we'll know once we get notification from Newcastle. Friday will be 5 rounds, including 4 7-minute sessions, along with a 12-minute at the end of the day. And then your last session on Friday will set the grid for qualifying for each day's both round 5 and round 6. Round 5, warm-up, qualifying. Pre-finals will be 10 laps, 8 for cadets, while the main events will be 18 and 16 for cadets. And then we'll follow that up with the same format on Sunday for round 6. And we'll try and decide our champions for the 2022 season.
Yeah, we'll see if anybody's able to clinch it on Saturday. Otherwise, Sunday will be Championship Sunday for the Pro Tour for the majority of the categories. And again, as David said, there's your roundup. 18-lap main event, 16-lap for the cadet classes. We'll go to our first break in the action here, folks, on this edition of the EKN OutLap, episode number 42, as we dive into a preview for the Superkarts USA Pro Tour SummerNationals. When we get back, we'll go by the numbers. We'll have a look at the entries, class by class, pre-entries for this year's event. You can buy all the latest and greatest products on the market. But when you're karting to win, it boils down to one thing: you. the driver. Gain the knowledge and abilities by investing in yourself at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, and you'll find those extra tenths of a second you need to put yourself on the podium. The school was established by Superkarts USA Hall of Fame driver Alan Rudolph, with decades of victories and championships in multiple forms of the sport, including other disciplines of racing. The Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, located at the Speed Sports Racing Park in the metropolitan Houston area, is designed to teach driving skills at all levels. The instructors of the Academy have decades of racing experience and educating drivers of all ages. Classes at the Academy will teach the concepts and skills needed both behind the wheel and off the track. From the beginning kart racing experience and intro to karting courses, to their advanced 1-day and 2-day courses and karting clinics, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy can improve the skills of any driver. For more information on the specific programs that the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy can provide for you, head to speedsports.com and click on the Racing Academy page. Be sure to follow the Academy on social media by searching for Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Leading Edge Motorsports is the industry answer to winning in karting. At the helm is industry veteran Greg Bell, who has orchestrated the success of many drivers dating back to the mid-1990s. Based in Lodi, California, Leading Edge Motorsports is the Western importer with IP karting that includes the Praga and Formula K chassis brands. Leading Edge Motorsports provides in-depth driver development for those racers in Northern California and across the country. Arrive and drive services, kart preparation, and driver coaching are available under the LEM tent throughout the season. Bell's record of working with drivers includes recent victories at North America's biggest karting events, including the Rock the Rio and the SUSA SummerNationals. Greg Bell's knowledge for building engines spans 2 decades and is now under the Mega Power branding, providing a reliable engine service and tuning knowledge. No matter the chassis brand, choose Mega Power to get to the front. Click over to leadingedgemotorsports.com for more and find them on social media to stay connected. At Leading Edge Motorsports, winning never gets old. Welcome back to episode number 42 of our EKN OutLap, our preview of this coming weekend Superkarts USA SummerNationals, the Pro Tour finale. Rob Howden and David Cole here on the broadcast. By the numbers, David, let's jump into it. 2021 total entry of 253 for the Pro Tour finale. Coming in pre-entries right now at 222. I think all but one class is down in terms of numbers, so we'll see how it plays out with some walk-ups. I don't know that we're going to be able to throw up another 31 walk-ups, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a few to potentially get us over 230.
Yeah, I would think 230 is a good mark. You know, we had 220 on that second weekend of our COVID summer festival that we had at Newcastle. That was 241, and then 220 the next weekend for the next 3 rounds of racing. So, yeah, you know, we're kind of in the same ballpark. Again, we've been over that 220 mark since we've been going to Newcastle in 2015, which began with 237 entries. And again, so we have a little bit more categories, but we're not having any X30 Master. That category has 0 entries, so I would not expect to see any walk-ups for that division. But I would expect it being with Newcastle, you're going to see some walk-ups. You know, there'll probably be some drivers that didn't enter yet. Yeah. A lot of the local and regional racers that are waiting to see the weekend, waiting for the weekend to come before they enter. So I would say a 230 is a good mark that we could see. I don't think anything well beyond that is going to happen, in terms of walk-ups. But, overall, I think, we're double digits in every category except the X30 Master category. It's still a solid number to be going into the finale with. Yeah, and again, we always kind of combine the micro and mini and have a look at the cadet numbers. They're down a little bit in both those classes, but not much. 4 in each, down 4 in micro and down 5 in mini. So still, that means 55 cadet drivers will be on the racetrack. X30 Junior, it's tough to look at. Well, again, David, maybe that's kind of the national program we've seen with the 125cc liquid-cooled single-speed classes. X30 Junior down to just 20 and X30 Senior at 27. Yeah, that's kind of the typical number we've been seeing is in the 20s for X30 Junior. across the board, really. It's just it's that elite category because there's a lot of these kids that are moving up from cadet aren't quite ready for that X30 speed. And there's a lot of talented drivers, in that 20 that are racing in X30 junior. So it's a little bit tougher to be able to progress when you're, trailing each weekend. So I think that you have that other option of KA 100 junior. It's a lot easier to kind of put all your eggs in one basket and focus on that and getting developed to be able to move up to that X30 junior category the next year.
Well, let's talk about that, David. Like you said, some drivers come out of the cadet, the mini class, and go junior, KA 100 junior instead first for maybe a year. And that's, we've got an increase of 9 drivers in that class. There's 43 drivers in KA 100 junior. That's the biggest class on the weekend. Yeah,
it's a lot of those kids that are just, have moved up or, are happy with the 100cc package. Again, it's a little bit more affordable. You're not, focused in on, trying to do 2 things. And a lot of the X30 junior drivers do both KA and X30. So you have a lot of double duty drivers in that terms. So I think that helps boost up that KA 100 junior number to be the largest category that we do have on the weekend. But again, it's just, that 100cc option, I think both junior and senior, and even now we're starting to see a little bit in masters, with that being introduced down, at events, regional and national level, it's kind of going that direction where, people are walking away from the 125 side of things.
Yeah, indeed. KA 100 senior, the second biggest class on the weekend at 42 total, just down 3 from last year. And that's kind of a category you see a lot of walk-ups on, like the local kids. So we may end up going back to 45 in KA 100 senior. Then last but not least, pro shifter and master shifter. 23 drivers in the pro shifter class, 12 in total in master shifter. So a total of 35 shifters right now pre-entered for the event this weekend.
Yeah, it's a great boost in the master category. Obviously, we only had 3 drivers at the spring nationals in Utah. I think it was 3. Yes, 3 drivers. So to go back up to 12, we had 14 last year, but again, there's a lot of Midwestern guys that are focused on this category. So that helps, boost the numbers back up into double digits. So that'll be a standalone class on the schedule. So again, we got every single category running their own class or their own race group this weekend. So no dual categories in one race group. So that'll be good. And we'll see some good masters drivers. I think we might even see some drivers who are entered in pro. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yep.
And move back over to master. So we'll have to see how that what occurs with that when we get trackside.
Exactly that. Yeah, 222 pre-entries for the Pro Tour Summer Nationals, the finale of this year's National Championship program for Superkarts USA. When we get back, time to go class by class. Our next segment, we'll have X30 Senior, KA 100 Senior, and Pro Shifter. Don't go anywhere. We'll dive more into the SCUSA Summer Nationals after this quick break. It all started in 1994 when former successful kart driver Albino Parolin decided to move his passion for karting from the track to his small workshop. That's when Parolin was born. Fast forward 20 years and Parolin's passion for the sport led to the company rejoining international competitions as a factory team in WSK and CIK FIA races, with the aim of enhancing the research and development process, immediately achieving notable results around Europe, North America, and Asia, becoming the CIK FIA Asia Pacific KZ champion in the same year. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products, and we run a factory team at all of the major Superkarts USA and Rock Cup USA events. The Parolin chassis lineup for 2021 includes the Invader Shifter, the Le Mans Tag single-speed chassis for junior and senior classes, and the 28mm mini kart for the cadet classes. Parolin has been winning races all over the world, and it's on top of the podium in the USA as well, with drivers like Kai Sorensen, Mateus Orjuela, and Alessandro De Tullio. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. For more information, head to ParolinUSA.com. Acceleration Kart Racing is your first and only stop on the internet for karts, parts, and the safety gear you need to get you on the track. Visit shopakr.com for a great selection of karting equipment on a user-friendly website. Acceleration Kart Racing has aligned itself with many of the top manufacturers and distributors in the sport to ensure all the latest equipment is available to you, the racer. With over 20 years in business and customer support available 6 days a week, you can be confident about getting the right parts at the right price when you need them. Be sure to visit shopakr.com today or stop by their headquarters in Las Vegas. Make sure to follow Acceleration Kart Racing on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest specials and new arrivals. Welcome back to episode 42 of the EKN OutLap, part of our EKN Trackside live coverage that we'll have this weekend of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour Summer Nationals, the finale at Newcastle Motorsports Park. Rob Howden here alongside David Cole. David, let's have a look at the X30 senior class. And we had mentioned in the by the numbers, 27 entries in total. This season, and not even just the SCUSA Pro Tour, but of course in the USPKS as well, has been kind of dominated by Ryan Norberg. 3 wins in the Pro Tour already, the first out of the first 4 races. Jeremy Fletcher scoring the other. But Norberg rolls in here with a 262-point lead. He's one of the drivers, I think, that can lock it down with a win in race number 1 on the weekend, round 5 on Saturday.
Yeah, a win in round 5 on Saturday will give them 4 and essentially lock up the championship the way the points are looking right now. Jeremy Fletcher is the only other driver to win on the SCUSA Pro Tour this year, winning that opening round at NOLA. And that was only Norberg's bad race. Well, last year he had 2 bad races, and that cost him the championship. So, again, a lot, it's not necessarily clinched for Ryan Norberg. He's still going to have to come out and do his work on Saturday, that round 5 action, and be able to gain as many points as possible over both Jeremy Fletcher and Paulie Massimino are sitting there in 2nd and 3rd. Obviously, Massimino's got some podium finishes to his credit, but not a victory. So he's going to need victories in order to be able to compete and try and bring down Ryan Norberg off the top of the standings there. So that's kind of going to be the story in terms of the championship going into the weekend. Martin Kremer sitting there in 4th with Pedro Hiltonbrand in 5th. They're essentially, they're still mathematically involved right now, but, essentially out of it. But those are going to be 2 drivers that are certainly going to be going for victory in both days.
Well, let's mention this as well, David. We talked about going for the championship, but it's also the top 3 number plates as well, right? National 1, National 2, and National 3. Everybody's still battling it out for those spots, although Fletcher back by 262 points. Massimino by 290 from Norberg. He's only, 28 points behind Fletcher. And Kremers is really only about 54 points behind Massimino as well. So still with lots of points up for grabs with 2 races on the weekend, we could see a shakeup on the drivers with number plates. David, let's talk about some notes from the weekend as well, because we do have some drivers that are moving around a little bit.
Yeah, one of the notes in the category will be Parker DeLong, who's moving from Pro Shifter, who he raced in Utah, over to X30 Senior. So this will be his debut in the X30 Senior category. So that's one of the notes looking at the entry list. Still pretty much the same driver list and who is kind of involved and being contention. Obviously one of the big stories with Massimino making that announcement of leaving Ryan Perry Motorsport, moving over to Speed Concepts Racing for aboard the CRG brand. So it's going to be an interesting weekend to see how he performs in the new home. He's already got a race under his belt, raced at GoPro Motorplex, the club race there this past weekend, got a victory in the X30 Senior division there. So he's got some time already on the CRG, so it's not going to be brand new and fresh. So he'll be going into the weekend with kind of already working with Tony Tesoro, knowing exactly, kind of what they're looking for on the weekend.
Checking it up for sure, right? I like that big time. Again, some drivers to watch. Paul Bocuse will be quick. John Burke. We got Zachary Clayman DeMello coming back as well. He's on the entry list. We've already mentioned the guys up front, Blake Nash for Nash Motorsports, jumping up and running X30 Senior here as well. Louis Westover coming back over as well, David, the British driver we've seen with Solo Kart USA over the last couple of years. He's back as well, running with the team here in the X30 Senior class.
Yeah, he should be a notable. It was very quick in the SCUSA Winter Series every time he came over. And believe he's raced at Newcastle at least twice now.
I think so, yeah.
So he knows the racetrack. And again, we know the Europeans have done really well at Newcastle. So I would expect to see him. Kremers obviously, but raced at Newcastle multiple times, doing double duty as well with the pro shifter category. And then Hildebrand, really showed well at Utah. So I think they have that momentum there, PSL karting, with those two drivers, kind of leading the way, along adding with Diego Ramos. So you got those three drivers under the PSL tent. That's going to be a scary trio of drivers on the weekend.
Dave, I know that Parker DeLong running in that pro shifter category in Utah was one of the topics. He's moving over to X30 Senior this weekend, I hear.
Yeah, I already mentioned that.
Right? I was looking at notes. Pardon me. I was
Sorry.
looking at some notes on that.
That was my first thing I said.
When I passed it over to you, I went straight to the notes to look at a couple other things. My apologies. Let's go to KA 100 Senior then. This is a big class, as we said. 43 in total, and very similar to X30 Senior in terms of race wins. Fletcher with 1 in X30 Senior, Norberg with 3. Now it's Lupien with the 1 in KA 100 Senior. It's Fletcher with 3 wins. Although David, even with 3 wins, doesn't have the point lead that Norberg has in X30 Senior. Fletcher's actually behind P2, 52 points behind Alex Stanfield, who has had an extremely consistent season.
Consistency. We've talked about it. Max Garcia in the junior ranks, being consistent keeps you in the championship hunt. Well, that's Alex Stanfield's kind of mantra right now in the KA 100 senior division, where he's kind of been there, podium finishes, keeping that point steady. But when you do factor in a drop, that's when kind of things change. So Fletcher still has the ability to move that. It's only 52 points between those two drivers right now. You're looking at his drop from the opening round at NOLA. Fletcher only had 60 points. So that obviously is going to be his drop unless something else happens this weekend in either round 5 or round 6, where Stanfield, he's just looking to be consistent and keep it going. He's going to probably maybe need a win if Fletcher continues to run up front all weekend long. So that's going to be a really interesting story. Lupien, on the other hand, he has a disqualification to his record. He's sitting 166 points back. I'm still waiting for a notification regarding if he's able to drop the disqualification or not. I'm still waiting for Scusa to get back to me. So that's a 90 if he can drop it. If not, he's going to have to put in a couple podium, if not winning performances as well, too. And then you got Caleb Schrader, almost as consistent as Stanfield, sitting back by 185 points after the 4 rounds. He's got one kind of iffy round. That was round 2 at NOLA, to where his other points are all over 200 points. Other rounds are over 200 points. So that's keeping him in the chase. And again, he's kind of got that consistency that Stanfield has. And, as a Pro Tour winner last year at Utah, there's no doubt about he could be a challenger in Newcastle as well.
Yeah, Peyton Phillips rounding out the top 5 in the points, back by 344 markers. David, I was just kind of scanning through the KA 100 senior lineup here, picking up on Nicholas Terlecki, some of the other drivers I expect to see up front. Mick Gabriel, who we've seen win a bunch of 4-cycle races, is coming in with AEM karting. One of the other things that kind of caught me off guard was Oliver Calvo. He's got Speed Concepts listed as his team for this weekend as well.
Yeah, good to see Calvo back at the racetrack. We haven't seen him much in the 2022 season, so that'll be a story we'll have to kind of pick up and see what he's been up to since the last time we saw him.
Yeah, a couple other drivers. I just think that when it comes to KA 100 Senior, kind of throw it out when their names are there. Connor Ferris has obviously been very quick over the last couple of years. Colin Lloyd as well. Anytime he gets behind the wheel, can run up in the top 10. So those are some drivers that could be in there fighting it out to potentially mess up the runs that guys like Stanfield, Schrader, and Phillips or even Lupien are looking to put in.
And add in Parker DeLong going double duty, so he'll be both X30 Senior and KA 100 Senior.
Pro Shifter, 23 entries, as we said, and it is a stack class in the Pro Shifter category. No doubt about that. Lots to talk about. Marian Kremers with a couple of wins on the season. That gives him a 194-point lead over the number 1 ranked driver on eKarting News' driver rankings presented by Skip Barber. AJ Myers, he sits in the 2nd spot. Kyle Wick in 3rd, Jacob Gulick in 4th, and Jake French in 5th spot. The guys like Wick, Gulick, and French are quite a ways back in terms of points, but with 2 events coming up, if anybody goes on a streak, they could easily bounce back. As I said, Kremers with a couple of wins, Wick with a victory, Myers with a victory. But David, we got some interesting guys added on to the Pro Shifter grid, which I think are going to make things really exciting.
First looking at the championship, all 5 drivers are kind of there. French is a little bit behind.
Yep.
You got Gulick, who's up there with former champions. Mixing it in, been pretty consistent. He's going to need some help. He got a little help with Kremers and Myers getting into it at round 3 at Utah, so that kind of opened up the championship for Myers and Wick to get back into it. But looking at the field itself, a number of notable drivers that are going to be in the field this weekend. First off, Danny Formal, who was number 3 in the driver rankings previously until this week, fell down outside the top 3. He's recently announced leaving the Leading Edge Motorsports operation to go over to Rollison Performance Group to work as a driver coach. And it didn't take him long to get right back into the seat, as he's going to be making his Pro Shifter kart debut, or Pro Shifter class debut, with RPG this weekend.
Other drivers who are coming in that should be fun to watch, of course, Hannah Greenmeyer. We've watched her focus on the shifter kart program this year, and she's been dialing things in. Podium finisher in Utah, if I'm not mistaken.
She is the only driver to be in the top 10 of both the shifter kart rankings and the EKN tag driver rankings.
I like it. That's awesome. We're using that throughout the weekend. That's a great note from David there. And again, congratulations. Well, obviously, Hannah is the reigning X30 senior champion of the SCUSA Pro Tour. And to see her jump in there and be up into the top 10 in the rankings for shifter is awesome. What about Andrew Berdozo, David? There's a kid with a lot of talent for Magic Kart USA. That team is strong, and he and Myers could be right up there in the thick of things.
The king is back. The king is back.
King of the streets, baby.
The Rock Island King of the Streets winner from last year is back. Newcastle, he's been pretty quick there over the years. So we'll see if he's able to shake off the rust and be able to help Myers move himself up into the front and make Pro
Tour winner too, right, Dave?
Yeah, Pro Tour winner. It was number 3 plate holder, if I recall, or I think it was number 3 plate holder after the 2020 Summer Festival weekend.
Names that we would expect to run up front. They've won races East Coast, West Coast. Billy Musgrave will have his factory kart machine there. Hunter Pickett, of course, with PSL Karting now. But David, the one I like, and you mentioned, you kind of teased a little bit potentially, will he stay in this class or not? One of the legends of our sport, Jordan Musser, actually entered to run in the pro category with PSL. I wonder whether or not he'll stay in the pro class, or is the drivers in the Masters category potentially drawing him over there back again?
I think Musser's going to stay in the pro category. I think this, being a one-off for him, I think he's going to stay there. I'm looking at more like Victor Jimenez and Vincent Cassard being the other 2 drivers who were in the Masters category in NOLA, moved up to pro because there were only 3 other drivers in Utah. So they moved over to the pro shifter side. So,
Dave, I don't see Cassard on the entry list that I've got.
Yeah, I don't see him either. So he could possibly be, a ad-track entry, or he decided not to attend the SummerNationals. So that's, that was going to be one of the storylines in Master Shifter. But looking at Jordan Musser, I would see him staying in the pro shifter category, because I think again, he's done it before. I think it was 2020 when he did the one weekend in the Pro 2 at the time, and did very well in that category. So there's a lot of the same drivers he raced in Pro 2, if not back when he was a pro shifter driver as well, that are still in the pro shifter category. So I would see him staying there, but that, adds another bullet. He's racing alongside Kremers, racing alongside Pickett, French, and David Greco, the Canadian, as well too.
I was going to say a couple of Canadians this weekend with David Greco, as you said, and Josh Conker coming down to run as well. I ran into Josh and his dad, David Conker. I actually raced with David when I was running four cycle in the mid 90s. The Conquer name's been around karting for a long time. Josh's grandfather was one of the top engine builders of four cycle engines in Canada. Good to see Josh, who does a lot of rock racing as well, coming down on the energy kart to run this weekend too.
Yeah, so there's a lot of teams that are kind of focused on getting people working together. You got Rollison with Formal and Greenmeyer. You got Magic Kart with Bedozo and Myers. You got PSL with their 4 drivers there. I think it was 4. Yeah, 5 actually. So a lot of teams working together to try and make sure that their strength in numbers is strong this weekend.
Yeah, I know. I love it. I like the fact that things are dialing up, and especially the shifter categories. You mentioned Magic Kart. I think they have 4 or 5 karts. They've got Annie Rule as well, Talon Yokel. So Magic Kart USA with a good entry too. This is going to be a lot of fun in the shifter class. Again, I'm just pumped to see it kind of stepping things back up again as we've kind of settled into the engine packages that are available now. So it's been great so far. And then again, 20, what we say in total, David, in that class, 23 in the pro shifter category. Whether or not Victor Jimenez moves over to the Masters class, we'll see. Another break. Let's get back after this one. We'll go X30 Junior, KA100 Junior, and we'll talk about that Masters shifter class. In karting, it's important to be supported by the right people. With over 40 years of experience in the sport, Trinity Karting Group has everything you need to make your program successful. We do it all, and we do it right. Trackside support and arrive and drive programs at many of karting's biggest East Coast events, full product sales and service, and professional coaching from our experienced staff. Trinity Karting Group is a full-service operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. This allows us to offer private one-on-one coaching to take you to the next level. From arrive and drive and coaching programs to the parts you need, let Trinity Karting Group provide you with customer service and a racing experience second to none. Trinity Karting Group is an official Kart Republic race team, providing full trackside support at all the major USA karting events, including the SCUSA Pro Tour, United States Pro Kart Series, SCUSA SuperNationals 25, and other events throughout the 2022 season. TKG has in stock Kart Republic, IAME, MG and Avinco tires, and more products for those in Ohio and the Midwest region. Trinity Karting Group has a long history of the sport, a winning pedigree, and we're dedicated to driver development. We take pride in our professional approach and our positive attitude. Let us build a custom race program for you. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com. Fast, fair, and fun. Ignite Karting offers you all of that at an affordable price. Ignite Karting utilizes the spec Margay Ignite K3 with a Briggs & Stratton 206 engine and the Hoosier R80 tire. Everyone in the junior, senior, and masters classes compete on the same Ignite K3 chassis, which puts all the emphasis squarely on driver development. Additionally, Ignite Karting is accessible at the local, regional, and national level. Special events for 2022 include the Ignite Majors, featuring events at the Daytona International Speedway, Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Quincy Grand Prix, Newcastle Motorsports Park, and the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. Those in the Midwest can enjoy the 5-round, regionally based Ignite Challenge at tracks in Illinois, Ohio, and Missouri. Local club programs have also been established in other states like Idaho, Texas, Nebraska, New York, Florida, and more. Join Margay Racing for some fast, fun, and great memories at an Ignite track near you. All information on Ignite events and Ignite kart packages, including dealers in your area, are available at ignitekarting.com. Get off the couch and onto the track this year. Ignite Karting. Fuel your passion. Welcome back to episode 42 of the EKN OutLap, the Superkarts USA SummerNationals Pro Tour finale coming this weekend at Newcastle Motorsports Park. So we're diving into a little class-by-class preview for you before we, of course, get trackside and fire everything up with our EKN Trackside coverage. Rob Howden alongside Dave McCole, and we're going to jump in here to the next segment with X30 Junior. 20 entries, not a massive field of drivers, but 20 entries, and it is absolutely flat stacked. three different winners on the season, David. Caleb Gaffera, Aiden Ingrata, and Jensen Burnett getting wins, and that has given Ingrata a 76-point lead over Gaffera coming into the finale weekend.
Yeah, certainly going to be a tight one in the championship battle. Everybody are going to be working the calculators every session on Saturday and on Sunday to see where they stack up. Essentially, it'll be whoever beats each other on the racetrack, what it boils down to, and looking at the the points spreadsheet. Obviously, Ingrata's got the tiebreaker right now with 2 victories compared to Gaffera's 1. So that's probably going to be on the mind for Caleb G all weekend long, is to try and get at least 1 victory out of the 2 rounds this weekend. Brandon Carr sitting third right now, not on the entry list. Haven't been able to confirm if he will be there or not. He's only 119 points back, so certainly still in the championship hunt, but not on the entry list. So that moves Max Taylor and Max Garcia up if he does not, in fact, attend this weekend. So those 2 drivers also in contention, not too far out, 147 points for Max Taylor, who is a RPG teammate of Caleb Gaffera, and then Max Garcia with MPG Motorsports aboard the Will Power Kart, 169 points back. So all 5 of those drivers, if Carr does in fact come this weekend, all 5 in the championship hunt.
David, one of the things we see a lot in the junior categories is drivers doing double duty. Not as many in the past, as we said, 45 drivers in KA100 junior, only the 20 in X30 junior, but there are some drivers that are going to do double duty in both categories.
Yeah, some notables, Elio Meza and Cooper Shipman. We haven't seen them do double duty much this year, but they will be doing that at Newcastle. So they're among those. Cameron Brinkman, another one. Obviously, Caleb Gaffera, Oscar Iliff, another Iron Rock Motorsports driver. He's going to be doing double duty. He's going to make his X30 junior debut at the SCUSA Pro Tour this weekend. Stephen Miller, Cameron Reed, a number of different drivers. So a lot of those drivers who are in that X30 junior field also doing KA100 junior.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's a strong field. As we said, we probably pretty much dropped everybody's names that we expect to be running up front. You throw in a Cameron Brinkman, Jesus Vasquez Jr., Sebastian Weldon, all will be strong. And that's going to be the fun. Well, they're both going to be great classes, but David, 43 drivers in KA100 junior. Again, 3 different winners. Elio Mesa, Charlie Smith, and Jesus Vasquez Jr. have won in KA100 junior. Gaffera, though, with the point lead in that one, we, again, talk about consistency, holds a 51 marker lead over Gaffera coming into the final 2 rounds of the series.
Yeah, and the championship, I think, is a little bit tighter in this category. Looking at the overall points, you have... Where did my points go? Hold on. 9 drivers within 300 points going into the weekend. So not all of them are going to be there. I don't think Ernesto Riviera will be there in this category. So essentially the top 8 are within 246 points going into the weekend. And again, We've had, 3 different winners out of the 4 rounds. Jesus Vasquez Jr., as you said, already has 2 victories to his credit. But as you said, trailing Caleb Gaffera in the championship by 51 points. So anything could kind of happen when you have 43 drivers out on the racetrack and you got 8 of them looking at championship points. So a lot can happen. Steven Eisert sitting there in third, 109 points back. Charlie Smith, our round 3 winner, he's only 112 points out of the first place, with Oscar Iliff 225 points back in the 5th spot. So a number of different drivers with opportunities to gain come round 5 and see what happens, see kind of where things lay out for round 6.
Yeah, David, we mentioned Eisert, of course, one of the top drivers on the West Coast. Christian Cameron, a driver he's kind of battles, door to door with on a regular basis. He's coming over running with Alex Keys Racing as well. You got Cooper Shipman with Iron Rock Motorsports, Cameron Brinkman with Mike Doty. It's going to be a stacked field. And of course, Oliver Weldon with JC Karting as well. Sarah Bradley now running with JC Karting. So this is a stacked field. This is one of those ones where anybody could finish it. You could be 5th, you could be 15th, right? Just depending on if you hit the setup and are running strong in one of these races.
And then add in Aiden Ingrata doing both. He hasn't done KA100 Junior all of this season that I recall. So he'll be making a start this weekend in both categories. So he's in the championship hunt in X30 Junior, looking for more track time in KA100
That's
Junior.
it, right? The juniors love getting that extra track time for sure. Guys that normally don't want any extra track time, at least I can speak from experience. Master shifter drivers, they're going to be challenged throughout the weekend. I do love Newcastle for being a shifter track, man. It is so much fun. Some hard braking, which you always want in a shifter. 12 drivers in total. You mentioned Vincent Cassard has not yet entered, I don't think, into the class as of yet. He's got 2 wins on the season. California driver Michael Gouache with a couple of wins as well. But it's Robert Fiege who comes in with the point lead over Ken Schilling, about 153 markers. Cassard now third, Gouache fourth, and Victor Jimenez, as we said, rounding out the top 5. He's well back with only 500 points, only made the one weekend. But David, we talked about it. Will Cassard, will Jimenez, will they move to the master shifter class? Will we even see Cassard trackside or not?
Yeah, that's going to be the story in this category. The top 2 drivers are the only ones who have competed in all 4 rounds of the championship. So that's going to be key in how the championship plays out. But really, it's going to be more about what's going on track. And I think, we got a really good solid field this weekend, with 12 drivers. And I think one of the big stories, and I think one of the drivers to watch all weekend long is going to be the Crow Show. John Crow making his return to the SCUSA Pro Tour, former series champion, racing with Factory Kart. So back with the Musgraves, and he's been doing a lot of laps, doing a lot of local racing there at Newcastle. So he's going to probably be one of those drivers to watch once we hit trackside, and be the driver to keep the stopwatch on.
Another driver I think you could be watching, is usually pretty quick, is Mike Rivera from Rivera Racing on the GFC. You got Larry Pegram as well, former top national super bike racer who's been karting for the last 20 years. We saw him back on the SCUSA Pro Moto Tour days, I think back many years ago. Last but not least, Rusty Ferguson's racing. I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's going from racer to official. Back to racer.
How good's that?
He's another driver who's been doing a lot of club racing at Newcastle. So he's obviously got some local knowledge. So it'll be interesting to see, he's probably got a lot of weight on that kart too for being the size that he is. So it's going to be a heavy kart. Hopefully he won't he'll have some help to lift that thing up.
I was going to say, as long as we're not lifting it, I don't care.
Yeah. So, but it'll be interesting to see. Yeah. So you got Crow, one of the top Supermaster drivers in the country. Ferguson, one of the younger drivers. And then you got, a motocross guy or motorcycle guy with Pegram. A lot of different figures in this category.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of different storylines throughout the entire call of the Master Shifter class. All right, folks, last break in this edition of the Outlap. When we get back, we'll have a look at the cadet categories. We'll dive into Mini Swift and Micro Swift after this quick break.
Are you ready to go from karts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com.
Powered by technology, DID racing chains have a worldwide reputation for superior quality and reliability. Meticulously engineered and manufactured in Japan, DID Genuine Parts are the world's #1 original parts supplier for Japanese and European motorcycle manufacturers. A rich racing tradition where results speak for themselves, DID prides itself on engineering the most technologically advanced chains on the market to help you excel on and off the track. DID's SDH pin treatment creates an extremely hard chromium carbide layer on the pin surface that houses a soft inner core to absorb extreme shock loads. DID's 219 HTZ racing chain boasts this SDH pin technology, which leads to longer chain life as well as excellent energy transmission to the wheels. Available in the gorgeous gold, the 219 HTZ is the ultimate racing kart chain. Pick up a DID chain at your local dealer today, because when winning is the only thing that matters, go with DID. Welcome back, folks, to the EKN Radio Network and another ekartingnews.com podcast. This is episode 42 of our OutLap podcast, which is really the kickoff to our EKN Trackside live coverage, where we do our race preview in podcast format. Of course, we'll cap things off next week with the recording of our debrief podcast, the Race Report show, to cap everything off. But in between then, all the coverage trackside. Of course, everything we do on social media, Instagram, all the top 10 coverage that comes throughout the weekend. I'll be joining Xander Clemens once again and the crew at Kart Chaser for the live broadcast of the SummerNationals from Newcastle. But, of course, David doing everything we do on social, all the great interviews that we do at the end of the day. Of course, the videos coming out across the scales. Always a lot of great content coming out on our EKN social media channels. David, let's have a look at Mini Swift as we'll cap off this edition of the OutLap with Cadet. 31 entries total in Mini Swift. The Ileffs have done well, or rather, Jack Iliff has been very strong. Travis Roberts has been in the fight as well, but Iliff has a pretty solid little lead right now.
You did it again.
Oh, I called him Travis, didn't I?
Sorry, I had to step in there.
Well, listen, you know what? You're right. It's bad, but I count myself very lucky to have been in the sport long enough where I can mix up dad's names and the kids' names as well. You got to give me that. No, I
will. But I just wanted to point because I missed it last time. You said it on the OutLap for the USPKS race at Road America.
Whose fault is this? Not mine. Not yours.
It's not yours.
It's the parents' fault. Because they named them too close.
Too close. Exactly.
So listen, David, do me a favor. Every time you make sure you put Tyler's first name in there on the script. So that I can
try and do that. Maybe I'll put in Travis just to throw you off.
You would 100% do that, wouldn't you? There is no try. There is only do, David.
I screw up Cameron and Carson all the time. So you have a problem with Tyler and Travis Roberts.
And you still can't say the name Gaffera correctly.
I can't say Gaffera. No, Gaffera.
Tyler
Gaffar.
Roberts.
I don't say Gaffar anymore. Come on, give me a break.
You don't. Tyler Roberts. I'm sorry, Tyler. I apologize. But yes, I covered your dad when he was racing back in the day as well. So Iliff has a big lead right now, David. 185 points, a pretty massive lead coming into this program right now over Gage Bailey. So it's a good place for Iliff to be. And man, this kid has been rolling over the last couple of years for sure.
Yeah, 3 victories, not quite the same amount of a point lead that Ryan Norberg does in X30 Senior. So again, there's still some wiggle room. Iliff's going to have to perform on round 5 to be able to, further clinch that possible championship ahead of Gage Bailey, who's been doing really well in SCUSA competition.
Agreed.
Be able to sit there in second in the championship chase. Again, he's going to have to, though, step it up this weekend in order to try and challenge Iliff in that championship hunt. You got Asher Osteen in the 3rd spot, Carson Weinberg sitting 4th. However, he will not be in Newcastle. So that opens up the spot for Lucas Palacio to move up, who's been another driver who's had a really solid rookie mini season.
Yeah, I went on the younger age end of the age spectrum for Palacio. Of course, a winner last year in Utah in the micro category, jumping up into Mini Swift. He's going to be a driver to watch next year for sure. Tough to see Weinberg not there, but I do want to say one thing about Iliff, which is really impressive because, we talk a lot about, the long-term and consistent success of a Ryan Norberg, all the championships for Jordan Musser. Look at Iliff right now. Already 2 championships to his credit. This would be his 3rd Pro Tour championship. And then one season he didn't win the championship. He finished 2nd. This kid is putting together a body of work just to begin his career, which is absolutely unbelievable. Tremendous for him. And, of course, 185-point lead over Gage Bailey, who, as you said, has had a really strong season in the SCUSA Pro Tour. Good for him. But, one of the storylines we have to jump on as well, David, is the return of Keelan Harvick. He's going to be battling for potentially race wins as well.
Yeah, Keelan not at Utah, not at the Spring Nationals. So he is not in the championship hunt after having a pretty solid weekend in NOLA. Wasn't on the podium either rounds, but had solid points over the 2 races that were there that weekend. But you figure he's coming in with a pretty solid 4-win streak in the USPKS competition. So he's got to be looking at being able to contend for the victory both days at Newcastle Motorsports Park, along with Tyler Roberts, who we already mentioned is a former winner on the season already. He could be one of those drivers that are kind of racing his way into that the championship podium. One bad round at NOLA, then coming back to the victory. So he sits 6th. So that moves him into 5th in the championship, 289 points out of 1st. So he could be one of those racing for that number 2 or number 3 plate by the end of the weekend.
David, who else you got on the list there that you want to do a quick mention of that we should be watching for up front?
Turner Brown looked really good in his race at the USPKS debut at Road America. He made his CRG debut in Utah, so this is he's getting more accustomed to that CRG machine under Speed Concepts racing. I think he's one to watch. Ty Fisher continues to battle in that Race Lab TB kart. One day he'll be in the top 5. The next day he's kind of just trying to fight his way back into the top 10. So we'll see how Newcastle treats him this weekend. Gianmatteo Rousseau, a former Pro Tour champion in micro, haven't really quite seen him much this year and haven't seen him do well as in the events that we have seen him at. So we'll see if a return to Newcastle, where he did win the micro championship, if that's a way to get him back into the hunt or back in the front end of the grid.
I'll throw out Ashton Woon as well, Tristan Murphy, and a driver with lots of experience at Newcastle as well, Isaac Malkett, back in the hunt too.
Yeah, I think Malkett's going to be back. It says on the Kart Republic. I just don't think they updated it. So if he's still with Nitro Kart, as he was at Road America, he'll be aboard the Nitro Kart with Team Nitro.
All right, let's cap things off with a look at the youngest drivers in the Superkarts USA program, the Mini Swift competitors, 24 in total. Troy Ferguson with a couple of wins, Rocco Simoni with a couple of wins, and David, this is the closest championship battle we have in the whole Pro Tour.
Yeah, both drivers tied at 1,115 points, so 2 wins. So the tiebreaker essentially going back to seconds and thirds, which I think crazy. Even out over the board. So I think these two are literally tied all the way through, and we're going to have to get in like 7th and 8th different tiebreakers if they keep it up this weekend. So yeah, this will kind of be the story, as they have a 248 point lead over Royce Vega, who sits 3rd, Jackson Gibson in 4th, and Nicholas Orbezo in 5th. They're over 300 points back, so they're going to need a lot of work to be able to challenge for the championship. So essentially, when you look at Championship Sunday, these are going to be the 2 drivers to watch and where they are on the racetrack each and every session.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, because again, the thing about SCUSA, right, David, there's points for everywhere. Points for pole, points for the pre-finals, points for the mains. You got to be on it from the very beginning, and these guys are going to be battling it out essentially head-to-head throughout the entire weekend. Going to be a lot of fun to watch. David, anything to cap things off before we wrap up this edition of the Outlap?
Yeah, excited heading back to Newcastle for the first time this year. We haven't been there yet in 2022. So get to see Mike Adams and the entire staff there at Newcastle Motorsports Park, the Dismore family as well, and get back to our unofficial second home in the karting world. That's exactly it. Looking forward to getting back to Newcastle. Always great to be there. Trackside, a fantastic racetrack with lots of overtaking opportunities, makes for very exciting racing and very exciting race calls as well. Looking forward to, as I said, being on the commentary, the lead with Xander Clemens and the crew from Kart Chaser. Again, follow all of our social media platforms on EKN. The hashtags we'll use this particular weekend: hashtag EKN at SCUSA, SCUSA Pro Tour, and SummerNats 2022. Great way to search all of the information, everything we're putting up on social. Again, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure you join us, folks, and we look forward, again, to getting things underway when we roll in there on Thursday afternoon. Full coverage Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's going to be a great one to cap off the 2022 Superkarts USA Pro Tour. That wraps things up for this edition of the EKN OutLap, episode number 42. Our coverage has begun for this year's Summer Nationals. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. We do appreciate it. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.